Hi, dreamers. Let's dive into the A in dreams, and it stands for assets. As I've said before, this series is going to be a little more personal as I attempt to answer the question many of you have asked, which is how did I get the capital in the first place to invest that $1.5 million in stock or $3 million net worth? Now, if you haven't seen the intro, D, R, or E videos to this series, I really encourage you to go back and watch those first, then this one. So let's continue the story and lessons. Literally, this is the formula of how I got to where I am today, and each letter is a critical piece. So here we go with assets. In the broadest sense, assets are anything you own that has monetary value and could be resold. But because I'm here to talk to you about building wealth, I'll be focused on assets that appreciate or increase in value over time. What I mean is, one type of asset is a tangible, depreciating asset. Think of things like cars, couches, clothes, boats, and the like. And while it's true you can sell or auction these types of items off, in general, you buy them, they depreciate. And both the usable value and resale value both go down. I personally don't like tangible assets because when I look at them, I think about my life minutes that are trapped inside of that physical item just sitting there on a shelf. And those life minutes, I cannot get back. Ugh. Anyway, then there are tangible, appreciating, but illiquid assets. These are things that may actually retain their value, or perhaps increase, but it's harder to convert them into cash. These are things like antiques, collectibles, art, jewelry, or maybe even a rare or fine wine or whiskey. Then, of course, there are liquid assets like cash and CDs, and those can be converted into cash pretty easily. Then there are intangible assets, which are not touchable, but ones that have value. This could be something like intellectual property or copyrights, patents, music rights, or a company brand name. They also could be internet assets, like a URL, a metaverse location, or maybe even a video game asset. If there's a marketplace somewhere with demand, there's a value. So, now that we have our definitions, perhaps you are starting to categorize your assets in your mind. What percentage of your assets now are tangible, intangible, depreciating, or appreciating? The goal, if you are in wealth building mode, is to amass as much in the appreciating column as possible. It doesn't matter if it's tangible or not, but it may matter how liquid it is when you want to ultimately sell it. So keep that in mind. You know me by now. I always educate by example. So you know all about my $1.5 million in stock, which are considered assets because I literally own pieces of businesses through, well, basically, a stock certificate mechanism. They are appreciating and hold value, and you can see all about them in a recent portfolio video. But what I don't talk about as much is the real estate I own. You see, while my stock assets have been growing, my physical real estate holdings have been appreciating and building wealth in parallel. This is the key to get as many appreciating assets growing in value in parallel as quickly as possible. I started with one house I bought right after grad school a long time ago, which I still own. I'd estimate I have at least $200,000 in gains there, and I also rent it out. So there are mild gains yearly from income, but mostly it's the continued capital gains on this little property that contribute to my net worth. Then I have another house that I've had for about 10 years, and I'd estimate I've gained about $500,000 in value there. Both of these also have the stored value of what I've been paying into them as well, but I am mostly focused on the gains here. So you can see that across the two, they have gained about $700,000 in value that I didn't have to work for. I simply held the assets and waited. Now, you know, in another video I mentioned I'm thinking of buying another property, maybe a beach house, that I can rent out for several years and then maybe even go live in. So that could be house number 3. And if I do, I plan on holding it for a while, just like the others. So what assets do you have or want to have that could gain value? Maybe it's tangible, like a house, land and collectibles. Or maybe it's intangible, like stocks or IP. Or maybe it's a mix of both. Let's say if you start your own business. Okay, enough of that. I'm going to end with a final bonus asset and a personal story. Perhaps the biggest asset you have is time. No, really. You think I'm going to go all squishy on you here, but I'm not. I just talked about buying real estate and stock and then sitting. So in my 3 million net worth, I'd bet you about half is just time-based growth. And stocks definitely have that effect, which I covered in my Warren Buffett video. But let me tell you about an opportunity example. Many years ago, I had a job offer where I knew they needed me. They made me an offer and I said, that offer is about $100,000 less than what I want to make. So it's a non-starter. We kept in contact and I noticed that their need grew and grew. 3 months later, they came back to me and made me the offer that I asked for. I worked that job for about 3 years. So let's think about it. That 3 months of waiting them out was worth about $300,000. And invested over the last 10 years, it would be closer to $500,000. So my point to you is, time is a major asset and leverage point. If you have time, think about how you can put that asset to work for you. And think creatively. Then do it as quickly as possible to reap maximum rewards. I'm curious, what assets are you planning to collect that can grow along your journey with time? That, my friends, is something for you to seriously ponder. So maybe you guessed what A was going to be, but what in the world could M and S stand for? These next two might surprise you. All make up the exact equation I focused on to get here. Well, thanks for spending time with me today. As a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, so keep in mind these videos are for entertainment and inspiration only. I'll see you on the flip side.